edition of The Next Big Thing. I'm Tara Lynch, and joining me is Jade Pettyjohn from Little Fires Everywhere. Jade, thanks for coming back and joining me on this extended edition.
Of course, I'm looking forward to it.
So let's just dive right in a little bit more into your time on Little Fires Everywhere. Lexie, as we established earlier, is a very deep character. She goes back and forth when you start the show. She's just kind of that typical popular girl, and as we go on, we learn so much more about her and her complexities. So how did you differentiate between the Lexie we first saw and then the Lexie we see at the end of the show?
I mean, it's as if they're completely different people. In the beginning of the series, she's the kind of girl that, like you said, you think you know her. You know, she's the popular girl. She's a little annoying. She's, you know, she's a bit ignorant. You know, it's all of these qualities. You're like, okay, I've seen that girl. I know her. She's this. And in a way, she really was in the beginning of that. But the entire power of the show with all characters is what happens when we unravel and when someone isn't showing how they want to be seen, but rather how they really are. And for my character, Lexie, she was this popular girl who didn't have a care in the world, and was in this little castle and never had to step outside. And it was really beautiful the way that Liz Tigelaar adapted the series was, as the show progresses, she gets hit with life and she sees that she's not perfect, that this is not a picture-perfect family. She realizes that her actions actually create harmful effects on others and that she wasn't even thinking with that. And so by the end of it, as all of this happens to her and all of these things explode, she's able to see herself in a clear light and sort of retake her empathy, which she had lost. So that was just a really beautiful thing to play. It's like the actor's dream, you know, it's a very drastic arc.
And Liz actually mentioned that how she wanted to provide more depth for the various, you know, children in the show, if you will. So definitely such an interesting storyline to just think about Lexie separate from basically everyone else, and everyone basically had their own little storyline and things that they were discovering about, you know, themselves as they went on. So what was the most challenging part about, you know, playing Lexie?
I think the most challenging part about playing Lexie was not making her a stereotypical villain or mean girl or popular girl, because we've seen that on screen before and it happens. But I don't know about you, but when I'm watching a show or a film, I love watching villains who don't think they're villains, because no one really believes that they're the villain in their own story in real life. You know, people think that they're doing the right thing even if they're not, or it's something they tell themselves. And so I think Lexie's just such a cautionary tale, you know, of what happens when you have a young girl so focused on perfection and the toxicity of chasing that and not thinking about others and not thinking about how she really is. And so I wanted to play that as truthfully as possible and from a point of not judging my character, even though you have every reason to judge her throughout the majority of the series. And so that was definitely a challenge of trying to understand the viewpoint and small-minded world of Shaker Heights and of Lexie Richardson, and breathing and understanding and a love to that and not a judgment, in order to make it as accurate as possible.
That was something my mom and I actually talked about. As we were watching the show, we were like, we don't know who to root for, because everyone has just these little complexities in their characters they go on, Lexie included.
Absolutely. I mean, that's like the great human experience, right? We're great in some ways and definitely not in others. You know, we're all flawed.
And, you know, earlier in The Next Big Thing, we talked about how you kind of transitioned from, you know, your time on Nickelodeon, School Rock, that era, into, you know, now your adult career. So what was it like working with such prestigious actors on Little Fires?
It was a definite masterclass, just seeing them in their element, not to mention being able to collaborate with them. and very inspiring and such a surreal experience. These are both Reese Witherspoon and Kerry Washington, and Rosemary DeWitt, and so many other beautiful actors in this, were on my screens growing up. There are huge reasons why I wanted to be an actress, why I thought that I could be an actress, and being able to work with them was such a dream come true. And what was really surprising for me was they were, of course, nice and obviously very talented, but they were one of the most generous sets and atmospheres I had ever been on. They were so willing to be there for me and to help get the best take from me, which was amazing. And they were just the most generous women. And I thought that was just really beautiful to see, as people so well known as them.
That's incredible that they were just so willing to help out and guide you on the path. Now, we talked about your favorite off-screen moment. What was your favorite on-screen moment? That can be either a scene that you were in or a scene that you weren't in that you were kind of watching and loved.
Oh, okay, well, there's two answers for that. One of my favorite scenes to watch was when it's one of the first, I call them panther scenes. It's when Reese and Kerry are just like staring each other down. And it's just chilling. And the line that Kerry says, it's in the beginning episodes, and she's like, "You didn't make good choices, you had good choices." Everything rang and just shook me to my core. I thought that was just such a beautiful performance. For me, as an acting perspective of like what I did, doing this is a spoiler, but there's a bedroom scene between.
If they haven't watched it by now, you just gotta get out there and watch it. So I think we'll have a spoiler alert. Spoiler alert right now.
Spoiler alert. Lexie, my character Lexie, and her boyfriend Brian break up, and there's this long breakup scene. And that was one of my favorite moments as an actor, to be able to actually film that. Nzinga Stewart was our director, and Stavante, who plays Brian, was incredible. And it was I just feel like that was a moment that was the spark for everything that's about to happen in the finale. It's actually a really important scene because it's where she actually realizes that she's not who she thinks she is, and that her mom is not who she thinks she is. And that was I had a lot of fun working on that particular scene.
You definitely saw the switch flip kind of in Lexie's mind at that point in the show, which unraveled a bunch of other things, especially, with Lexie's siblings. So what has it been like, watching this show kind of just explode on social media and, during this quarantine? I feel like everyone is talking about it and watching the show, and it's on Twitter, it's literally everywhere. What has that experience been like?
It's amazing. I mean, it's so surreal. I care so much about this story and the people involved in telling it. Everyone involved in making this story is a really dear friend of mine, and people that just are so tenacious and passionate about telling stories, and this one is no exception. So seeing positive responses to it has been just really gratifying. People recognizing all of our work together. It's really beautiful, and it makes me sort of feel nostalgic over the time when we spent filming it when we couldn't say anything to anybody. So yeah, I really love hearing all of the responses and memes and GIFs and the whole thing, the whole shebang.
So many great GIFs, I feel like, and memes came out of that show, even though it was so serious. So it's great to see that, we can pull different elements from Little Fires and just apply it all over our lives. And now switching gears one more time, what have you been up to during this quarantine? We kind of mentioned it off the top.
Yeah, so I don't even know how many days we're into this.
I don't think anybody really does.
I don't know, 60 question mark? I don't know. It's been interesting. I mean, I've been definitely trying to stay productive through creating things, through writing, through all of that. But I mean, each day is a new day, and I feel like I had this realization the other day of like having to strip the pressure off of having to write the next great American novel, or you know what I mean, to just cure cancer within this time, you know, just to take it one step at a time, and each day is a new one. So I've just been creating, making music, spending time with my family, which is, I'm really lucky to be surrounded by family right now, and cooking, and just sort of taking a break from social media when I can, and getting ready to go back to work when we all are able to.
We're all experiencing, you know, the same things, doing, you know, similar things, spending time with family, kind of just waiting until, you know, we can get back to normalcy if we ever really can. But to wrap it up in a bit of a fun way, I'm going to give you a fast 5 questions. We'll do it quarantine style, so kind of what you've been up to. So what is your favorite show to binge watch right now?
High Fidelity and Normal People. Both of them. They're very different shows, but oh my god, amazing shows.
Interesting that you didn't say Little Fires, but I'll throw that in there.
Oh, of course, Little Fires. I'm here promoting my show, and I like completely forgot about that one.
I mean, we can watch all 3. We have time now, so
all the time.
You've got it. Favorite song or album to listen to?
I've been listening to a lot of James Brown because you can't help but dance to him. And I think we all need a good dance session right now.
Said you liked cooking, so what's your favorite quarantine food?
Okay, food. I've been cooking a lot. I made like this, it sounds disgusting, but it actually was really good. It was this beetroot hummus. It was hummus with beets, so it was like bright pink. And it just tasted like really amazing hummus. But I've also been baking a lot, so I've been making a lot of pie with my dad. That's probably my favorite out of everything.
Good to have the balance, healthy, you know, sweet. It's a good balance to have. I feel like a lot of it, including myself, have just been like eating all the time because we're bored. So I have to try both of those things, pies and, you know, beet hummus as well. Not together, probably not together.
Don't do it together. Don't recommend that, no.
And what's been your favorite trend on social media?
I love the Some Good News that John Krasinski's doing. And I love that there's this trend of just sharing positivity and like sharing really sweet things that they've noticed and how people are helping. I'm such a sap for that kind of stuff. I think that social media can either be really toxic or really beautiful and helpful. So I've been following all of that. That's just been my favorite.
And we have more heartwarming trends on this week's Next Big Thing. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. And finally, to wrap it up, your favorite quarantine activity?
Oh my god. I think my favorite quarantine activity is actually dancing. Like just turning my record up to 11 and dancing with my dog and just having a good time and letting loose. That's amazing. That's
got to be the best thing. I love Grey's Anatomy, so the Meredith Grey, Christina Yang dance it out moment. That's one of my favorites in that series. So glad to see that I'm not the only one who's, you know, doing that in my bedroom or something.
We're not. You are not alone.
We are not alone. We are united together. Jade, thank you so much for coming on this extended edition of The Next Big Thing.
Thank you.